In case you haven't figured this out about me, I'm a romantic. I'm always going to be a romantic. As I've looked back over my life, I've realized that I've always had a romantic bent to me. Even when I was a little kid, I was always dreaming about the possibilities. I was always dreaming about what could happen next and the what ifs in a good way. That desire led me to the library a lot. I spent a lot of time with books and imagining things and putting myself in different scenarios to see how it might all turn out. And then I started getting into psychology books after I got married. Some of you know, probably many of you know, that I got married the first time when I was 18. That that's just crazy. I look at 18-year-olds now, even 21-year-olds, and I think, what are you doing? You're way too young to get married. We certainly had our ups and downs in that marriage. I wanted to have a great marriage. And I had grown up in a single parent home. So I grew up with my mom. I didn't see my dad from the time I was 3 years old. Actually, I wasn't even quite three. I turned 40 before I saw my dad again. So I had very little exposure to men and certainly none in my home. So I didn't learn anything from a man. I didn't learn anything about how to relate to men from my mother because he wasn't around. So I went to the library and I cannot tell you how many books about marriage I read when I was married to my first husband. I really wanted to do a good job. I wasn't a psychologist back then. I hadn't even gone to college yet. I was 18 when I got married. We were both 21 when our first child was born. We had two more boys after him. So we ended up with three boys. And then I was going to start college. But that's the time I ended up getting divorced instead. So it took me another 4.5 years and a lot of encouragement from some really, really good friends to actually get going and get my degree. I love books. I always loved books. I did my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate all back to back, starting when I was 40. So you can just imagine. An older student has so much more interest in what's really going on with the material that you're learning. You want to be able to apply it. You don't want to just learn it just to jump through the hoops and get the grade. You want to learn something that's going to apply to real life. And that's really where I've always been when it comes to reading or my studies or anything. So I remember during my undergrad when I would go into the library and I would pull a book off the shelf and I would sit on the floor and I would just think about what was in that book. I maybe read a few sentences and I go, wow, this is just so profound. I need to let this sink in for a little bit. I also remember feeling that way about the history of Western civilization. As a freshman, I took that course at the community college where I lived. And in that course, we talked about all kinds of things that I'd always wondered about, but nobody in my family ever cared about. And it's part of that is the romantic side of me that wants to see what is life about? Why are we here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I feel so compelled at this stage of my life when I could sit back and just be retired? Instead, here I am doing videos and learning new technology, learning how to make Facebook Live work, and, learning how to run a YouTube channel and all of those other things, writing books. Why am I doing this? That's because I'm still a romantic. I'm always going to be a romantic. I might as well just accept that fact and live with it.